Lesson 7, Exploring Cells. Introduction. In lessons 1 through 6, you looked briefly at many of the organisms that you will explore in more depth in the rest of this module. To learn more about organisms, you must first understand the nature of the cell, which is the basic unit of life. In this lesson, you will observe algal, plant, and animal cells through a microscope. You will draw, label, and measure the cells, following the guidelines for scientific drawings. You also will compare the structures of the cells and discuss whether their structures are suited to their functions. This is where bees live, and the circles here kind of look like cells. Plant and animal cells, the same but different. Almost all living things on Earth are made up of cells. Cells are the basic units of life. The simplest organisms, amoeba for example, consist only of one cell. Complex organisms such as humans have trillions of cells that are divided into about 200 different types. Each cell type has a different function. As the building blocks of living matter, plant and animal cells have many living things in common. They also differ in some ways. Those differences are important because they point to some of the factors that distinguish one form of life from another. To better understand this, or to understand this better, let's take a cross-sectional look at an animal cell and a plant cell. Inside an animal cell. Although there is no typical animal cell, most animal cells have three basic parts that scientists call cellular organelles. The organelle means little organ. The first organelle is the cell membrane. Sometimes referred to as the plasma membrane. This living membrane separates the cell from the rest of its environment and helps control the passage of substances into and out of the cell. The second cellular organelle is the nucleus, which usually occupies the central portion of the animal cell. Think of the nucleus as the command central, or the command center. Here's the nucleus, it's in the center. The nucleus regulates all the activities that take place in the cell. Instructions for the cell's activities are stored in the chromosomes, which are found in the nucleus. The chromosomes, which almost always occur in pairs, are composed of substance called DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA carries the hereditary traits that are passed from parent to offspring, so from mom to baby. The nucleus is surrounded by a double membrane called the nuclear envelope. This is DNA. Deoxyribonucleic acid. This is where you can find the chromosomes. The third basic cellular organelle is a jelly-like substance called cytoplasm, which lies between the cell membrane and the nuclear envelope. Right, cytoplasm, right here. In addition to the three basic cellular organelles, there are additional organelles in the cytoplasm. Each organelle carries out a specific cell function. For example, Nutrients are broken down in the sausage-shaped organelles called mitochondria. The energy produced in these organelles is either released to support the cell's activities or stored in the cell for future use. This is why mitochondria are often referred to as the powerhouses of the cell. Here's mitochondrion, because there's more than one. Ribosomes are organelles that help make the proteins that the cell needs to perform its life activities. Many ribosomes are located along the endoplasmic reticulum, or ER for short. The ER is a series of cavities that is connected to the nuclear envelope. Some substances travel between the nucleus and the cytoplasm through these cavities. Golgi bodies package the proteins made by the ribosomes so they can be sent out of the cell. Organelles called lysosomes help the cell digest proteins. The cytoplasm also contains organelles called vacuoles, filled with water, food, or waste. They are the cell's storage tanks. So this is where they store vacuole. So that was all inside of a animal cell. We're going to look inside a plant cell now. Plant and animal cells have the same basic cell parts: cell membrane, nucleus, and cytoplasm. But there are some differences. First, the plant cell is surrounded by a rigid outer layer called the cell wall. Here's the cell wall. The cell wall contains a cellulose, a tough substance that supports and protects the cell. Like the cell membrane that lies within, the cell wall allows materials to pass into and out of the cell, so that things can come in and things can go out of the cell. Unlike the cell membrane, the cell wall is non-living. The nucleus is much the same in plant and animal cells. But some of the organelles in the plant cell's cytoplasm are different. For example, some plant cells have organelles called plastids, which contain pigments. Pigments give parts of plants their characteristic colors. So here we have the nucleus.
Jennifer Heikkinen to the main office, please.
Red for tomatoes, orange for carrots, and green for spinach. A chloroplast is a special plastid in a plant's leaf and stem cells. The chloroplasts contain a green pigment called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll traps energy from the sun. Plant cells use this energy to produce glucose, a simple sugar, during the process called photosynthesis. The vacuoles in plant cells are much larger than those in animal cells. Here's a vacuole in a plant cell. Here are the vacuoles in animal cells, much smaller in animal cells. Most plants have a large central vacuole that helps support the plant cell and also serves as a storage place for water, sugar, starch, and protein. Although plant and animal cells have many organelles in common, each has organelles that the other does not, making them same but different.